I'd like to call the annual meeting of the Bolton Access Television Corporation to order. Thank you, everybody, for coming. So we have did you get a copy of the report? Okay. So we have annual report. The way that I put up the agenda, which is the way they have been in the past, is that I'll just briefly mention what's in the report, and then we can go down the line through financial and operations stuff, and then goals and things like that, and then we can talk about Camp Virginia again. But anyway, in my note, I indicate that I think the year has been a successful one, and I believe that that's true. We've done some additional things in public programming, and one of the interesting notes that we have in there was a history program that Zach was involved in, where an elderly resident of town talked about her experience in World War II. And that was recorded and aired and discussed at a meeting of the Seniors Tuesday Connections and things of that sort. And that's a good thing. That's the kind of thing we ought to do. And frankly, I wish there were more seniors that would do that. And I wish I've always wished Roger's program.
Roger was involved in this,
could
so
be,
this may
I
be
know,
a
but I wish his program could be recorded, and he will never allow it to be.
No, but
I think it's too bad.
I think that we've turned a door. I mean, this is 3 different nonprofits in town, all working together, all better because of this production, which is just amazing. I mean, and now it's actually not playing till February. In Tuesday's Connection is the Friends of Bolton Seniors, have some sort of entertainment, and then free lunch.
Okay, I may have, either you miswrote or I misread. I thought what you were saying was that it was recorded last November and played last February.
No, it's being played next February.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, it hasn't
and this
been
is
done.
incorrect.
Oh,
so we should change this. So you had written 16 and 17.
I'm sorry.
Or at least, or I inferred,
right.
Or you wrote 16 and I inferred the 17.
Right. No, I got a phone call from the Friends of Bolton Seniors to say,
okay, so
we
we'll
took a look at
before
this program, and it's really good. We want to use it as our entertainment. And I said, can I show up and make a pitch for other folks to do this?
And when did that happen?
I didn't do it yet. It's in February. It's the February.
So it has not been recorded yet?
No, it was recorded last November.
Oh, so it's going to be shown.
It's going to be shown in February.
So it was November 16th. Okay, I misread what that was.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll reword this. So what we send out for the official, then we'll correct that.
We'll edit that.
But in any case, it's a good thing. Thank you for what you did on that.
Yeah. So Zach did a great job. He edited in archival footage from the period and used music from the period, all royalty free.
Yeah, all public domain.
Now another good thing that I think we did again of working together with other nonprofits is that Bolton Lions were fortunate enough to have Peter Yarrow as a performer, and they approached us and said, we have some video of him singing at a kids concert. Could you incorporate that into a PSA and put that on the air? And they didn't really want to do it themselves, but they gave us the video. So we put together a nice PSA that got aired, and they had a great concert from everything that I understand about that. And we got credit for it, got a nice letter from the Lions about it, and things of that sort. So I think that's another really good thing.
Shannon put that together.
So we just wanted, and I think the bottom line is that we'd like to do more of those sorts of things if we had
It's the highest grossing fundraiser for the Bolton Lions in recent memory.
That's very cool.
Maybe ever.
So Teresa will talk more later about the education programming that we've done, but we're continuing to work with them to try to promote both of the video programs at Florence Sawyer and at the high school. Our government programming is must-see TV, that's for sure.
It's being used for...
And that's all rolling along, and we do almost everybody. We still don't do Board of Health, but there's a written agreement around somewhere that we will under certain circumstances, and those circumstances haven't happened, but it's there to be done if we want to do it. And we work with the other towns on tri-towns and things like that. And I guess just as an aside, and we may get into more detail on this later, but Teresa and I were in a meeting today with the other two towns, and just to give you a flavor of it, both Stowe and Lancaster televise selectmen, town meetings, and the tri-town meeting, and that's all. Both of them. So, I don't know what that means exactly, except that they don't get what our viewers get, is probably the main bottom line to it. But it's an interesting situation in terms of utilization of labor and resources and all that sort of stuff.
Do they get pushback on that? Because one of the issues that we've had in meetings here is when you don't cover those, if you don't cover as much as we do, you get pushback. Apparently they don't.
Apparently they don't, and I don't know why, but they don't.
Since they've never done it
Because they've
before.
never done it.
That's
Yeah,
why.
When
Yes.
they're approached, they're like, well,
Yeah.
give me a volunteer and I'll
Yeah.
teach you how to do it.
See, that's the
And
thing.
nobody
that-
wants to
that we-
volunteer. and so-
We jumped into it, and how are you gonna keep them down on the farm,
Yeah.
basically, is what is the situation.
We
we're
shot
in
ourselves
now.
in the foot,
So
basically.
it's a really interesting division of the way that we have been approaching things versus the way they've been approaching things. Maybe we can deal with that in the goals, and maybe we can't, but anyway, but it is an interesting,
Get the horse back in
an
the water.
interesting thing. So Teresa will introduce all of her people and talk more about the operations, but I think things have been going well, and Herb's stepped into the treasury thing. We have a really good situation with Amy Alcibiade as our bookkeeper. That's working really well. And I think what that will allow is stability in the financial thing as board positions turn over. So when Herb decides that he doesn't want to be treasurer anymore, whenever that is, it won't really affect the day-to-day operations and the management of the books. Whereas when Frank did, it made a big difference. And before him, when he took over, it made a big difference. And so it adds stability, and it's not a huge cost. She's very good, and she's very moderate in her rates, and very, it seems to me, moderate in the number of hours that it takes her to do what she needs to do. And whether it makes any difference or not, I guess maybe it's a commentary on her more than anything else, but the band that I'm involved in just ran into the same situation with an experienced treasurer quitting, and so we hired Amy to be bookkeeper so that an inexperienced person could do it, and so that, as it turns out, so exactly the same thing. And I'm sure that it's going to work well there as well, and not cost very much money there too. So I think that's a good thing to do, and Herb will talk more about the financial stuff, and Teresa will talk more about the operational stuff. And we continue to work with our friends in the other two towns. And I guess Teresa may speak to it, but they're actually talking about having a tri-station meeting, similar to Tri-Town, where the three stations get together on a regular basis to see where they are with stuff. And I think that's good. Now, Melissa works at all three, is that right?
Yep, I do.
So there is an incredible coordination that we have, which is really good. And so that's all really very helpful. So.
Nobody in that group has high def upload, right?
No.
Nobody.
So the rest of the report is just is details of some of what we show. It has the people on our staff as well as the board. Teresa will handle that in a minute, and there's some financial things in there, and we'll deal with those later. So that's all I really need to cover right now. But I'm pleased with the way things are going. So let's go from there. So why don't we go to the financial stuff, talk about where we are so far this year and so forth, and then we can move on from there.
Okay, that sounds good. This year, one of the advantages that we've had is a finance committee, and I would like to thank everybody who has come to those meetings. Mike Murphy and Susan and Ken and Teresa and myself have all formed the finance committee. We've met a few times. We have chartered ourselves to meet on a quarterly basis. I think that's also part of what has helped stabilize the situation financially, which is, as you can see, included in Ken's report is the income and expense FY17 to date. There's a new bookkeeping system put into place, along with Amy came the new bookkeeping system, which pretty much mirrored the Sterling Lancaster is more appropriate there, system that they were using in their location. So Amy came fully prepared with that skill set, and she and Teresa have been meeting pretty much on a monthly basis.
Every
2 weeks. Okay. I've monitored some of those meetings, but for the most part, they've been doing all this management and expenditures and payroll and all that good stuff amongst themselves. I get the reports at the end of a month and pass them on to other members of the finance committee. But from what we're seeing so far, the P&L line items are different in this year's bookkeeping system from previous years. The previous year's systems are really what had been used to create the original budget for 2017. So we've had some line items that have had $0 against them, other line items that didn't have a budget item have dollars against them. But the only real, so far, the only real way we've had to tell what our progress is to date is to just look at total expense and total revenue against what the forecast is and the percentage of the year we were at. Was pretty much all we had to use as a guidepost. So we've been looking at that monthly, every other month, just to make sure we're on track. And we've been pretty consistently almost at the same percentage to budget throughout the course of the year, even though stuff's been flying into different line items. And it's not that easy to keep track of from that standpoint. But once again, the new forecasting, the forecasting going forward will benefit greatly from the more detailed analysis that we have on both expenditures as well as revenues. So that's been a great guideline to look forward to for next year. Let's see, we'll be, so currently overall, the spending and revenues are within the range of the forecast, pretty comfortably. We discussed a lot amongst ourselves the process of money going into the town and sitting there for way too long before it gets to us. So we're working on that to try to put a better process in place there that allows us to realize the cash a little sooner than we're currently doing that. And we really do have an extremely positive cash situation, both in our operational account as well as the equipment account that still sits with the town. It's pretty
How does that get funded? Is that a piece
It's
of
a
the?
Comcast
It's the contract.
So Comcast provides two funding,
mechanism.
one for equipment and one for operations. And you're talking directly controlling about the operations, and the equipment fund sits with the town, is that?
That's where it sits right now.
Yeah, okay.
So that's, and part of that whole process, I think we need to get a little bit more control of that, particularly over the finances of that, and why is it sitting in the town budget when it?
I don't think we have a very finely tuned build-out plan or equipment plan, do we? We sort of buy it as we need it?
That's potentially, well, that's part of what the finance committee will now do, is figure out a capital plan.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's what I was asking.
And you know, you did a nice little segue for me there, because I did want to mention capital planning.
I'm glad I could help.
While I was had the podium here. the goal is to create a capital plan that evolves. I think there's one that's been created, so there is one that we can access that I think becomes the capital plan, given some assumptions that we move forward with. So that's part of, once again, the Finance Committee will do a lot of that.
Are they looking at an annualized capital plan or a 3-year roadmap?
You know, I don't
5
think it's
years.
either. Yeah,
5-year
I think it's
roadmap?
more
Good
towards
answer.
5, and it's more an evolving kind of plan rather than let's make it do this, let's make it do that.
Exactly, that's why I asked.
Let's
But we
get
need a
it.
roadmap.
Yeah,
Seriously
that's
need a
why I
And
used the
the
term.
roadmap's gonna guide us to where the plan goes instead of
The
making a
road-
plan.
The roadmap gives you kind of like a gross 50,000-foot view of the plan, and you probably settle on the plan annually, but you need a rough roadmap
Yeah.
to know sort of where you're headed. Yeah, yeah. okay.
And now that we have a better handle on the money situation, then now we need the plan.
That kind of two-tiered granularity is the way it's done in industry, so probably makes sense here too.
Yeah, so that's, you know, we've made some, Teresa has some ideas about what she wants to do with some equipment, about adding some, more equipment for volunteers to come in, et cetera. So those are some of the things that, that we're talking about at that.
And maybe
As-
some.
as part of capital
And this may
planning.
also be included, but where we'll be technologically, you know, 1 year, 2 year, 5 years out, and what we need to start thinking about to
Yep.
kind of step into that.
And we
Yeah.
talked to, before the meeting started, about
Yeah.
whether the whole HD process, how that happens. And I
See,
think
it
we-
seems to happen by magic, and I haven't talked to the liaison in quite a while, so I need to pick that up again and see where we are.
But I agree that technology is part of that roadmap.
Yeah, I mean, that opens up a whole bunch of opportunity for us, and we just need to kind of focus on that, whether it's this year, next year, or whenever it is.
And
Thank you.
I think the 2018 budget is farther down on the agenda, so I'll be happy to make some more comments on that when that topic comes around. But like I say, I think we're in a pretty good cash position here with regard to what we have in the operational account and what we have sitting in the town account. So we're in extremely good shape there. I can review the numbers with you if you want.
It's overall direction. They don't mean anything to me now, because I'm not thinking in terms of, you know, the whole capital plan and operational bill now, so.
But one thing that is kind of cool is that our revenue keeps going up
That's awful, is the
rather
way to
than
stop
down,
this.
which is.
And we put a really
Because
good.
we just went over $30,000 for a quarter, which is the highest it's ever been, the first time that's happened, and that's pretty cool.
And an excellent handle on expenses, which those two things really make it a rosy picture.
Well, we can certainly come back to any questions that anybody has when we get a little further on. So Teresa, you want to tell us about how you're doing and make sure that everybody knows your folks?
So I think maybe Susan's the only one that, Zachary Pierce, Susan Zuckerman,
Hi, Zach.
and Melissa Jelly.
Hi, Melissa.
Yes, so I have the most amazing staff. Probably most people don't know that Shannon went back to school. So she and Melissa switched jobs. So Melissa is now scheduling Channel 8, and Shannon is doing bulletins, which allows her to still be around and yet do her schooling and get her degree finished. Zach is still doing Channel 99. Everyone is doing an excellent job. It's a little tricky because we don't always see each other because everybody has different hours, and Melissa has multiple other jobs, and Zach has a full-time job as well. And so we've been having monthly staff meetings, which are both productive and social, which is a good thing, so we can catch up. We had a few issues with with not being on the air, but we handled it and got ourselves back to where we needed to be, which is awesome. on page 8 is the schedule summary from fourth quarter of last year through third quarter of this year. And you can see that we we played live 109 live program, 109 government programs. So for the year, 14 public programs, and then an additional 34 field programs that weren't public, so government programs that required field setup, like the annual meeting, which of course is our biggest staff, our biggest amount of money, our biggest effort to make happen. You know, you're usually, like something like town meeting, we're running 4 cameras, and we need multiple people. The cabling should not be as bad anymore. I understand Bob finished all the plugins and that they're working. So this next town meeting will be a different experience. But it requires a lot of staff and a lot of setup. None of this stuff just happens by itself, and it's awesome to have the staff to make it happen. This is in league with what happened in previous years, and it may be a little bit less. There were a lot of meetings canceled this year. I'm not sure why.
Yeah.
But that adds to itself when they cancel meetings, because then you have to undo everything you set up to make it happen. It's slightly less than what it was before, but not anything. Again, we're totally underutilizing the studio. We had one studio recording all year long, which we have this amazing, beautiful studio, but it's just not getting utilized. And we talk about ways to make that happen. However,
Was that the bomb recording?
that was the candidate's interview.
Oh, okay.
Our time, energy, and effort goes into the government part of it, and so there isn't the time to put onto the studio, making the studio productions happen. And so we definitely need to have a discussion at some point in the board about what we want to do there. What else am I supposed to talk about?
Do you think you can fill it up? Is it just a question of organizing and staff, or there's just more capacity than Bolton Access needs?
Yeah, more capacity.
In other words, even if you had a few extra people and you were, doing some of the things you want to do, would you fill up that studio?
Oh, yeah.
You could fill it up.
I've done, we've done 10, 12, 14, like, not every day potentially, but yeah, we could do a lot more with that studio that we're not using it.
Could you fill up all of the capacity? I'm just thinking, is there an opportunity maybe lease some of the time to an ad agency or something like that for revenue purposes?
You could. You can do a lot more, and there is actually now a production company in Bolton, which we actually work with them. They filmed the Halloween parade and did a great job, gave us the footage for it.
Do they need any of the equipment or capacity up there for editing, post-production, anything like that?
No, she has her own studio, but I'm planning on getting together with her and potentially having the discussion you're suggesting right now.
It's an asset.
So who is this and where are they?
They're in Bolton. It's Owl.
Something Owl Studios or something like that.
Owl Productions.
It's really just one person, isn't it? Well, she has like a small team.
She
but-
has a team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where in Bolton? Do you know?
I'm not sure. You can Google her.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Owl Production.
Yeah, there was a posting about it on the Bolton community Facebook page when they officially opened. There's a posting with their website. So I'm sure the link is still there somewhere. But
Economic Development Committee posted.
yes, that's right. Yeah.
That's
So,
really interesting.
yeah.
So. Education programming, I'm still trying to find out who is the, Mary was the teacher who ran the club at Florence Sawyer, and she's no longer there. And so I'm still trying to figure out who is the person there and go and meet them and discuss. I assume they're gonna use the same setup that we used before. They post to their YouTube channel and we get their FSTV stuff from there. With the high school, it's even more interesting stuff is going on. Jackie Carter, who is the teacher for the journalism video production class, has been very active, and we've had multiple conversations with her because they're looking at buying a set of switching equipment to use, field switching equipment to use at the school. What they have now is sort of ad hoc together, and they're looking at actually buying a mobile broadcast PICS system, which is really exciting for their students. And so we've had multiple meetings with them about which equipment to purchase and what would serve their purpose the best.
Would mean switching.
Camera switching.
Oh,
Yes.
So you have multiple camera shoot
Multiple camera sheets. Yes.
in the field.
So, and also how can the school utilize the stations and the stations utilize the school and the productions they're doing and making this a collaborative thing. You know, she only has so many students and they have so much to do themselves. We don't want to be borrowing her students so that they're not available to her to use. And so we sort of try to figure out how to get particularly sports done and everybody wins in this scenario. And so she's looking at her curriculum and how to go about that. And me and Matt plan to go over and actually sit in on them. On Fridays, they do the announcements. And so it's like a packed morning full of the production of it, writing it, the production of it, and getting it on the air. This is really exciting. I mean, we've tried to get the high school involved somehow for a long time. And this is actually, I think, gonna go somewhere. So, Ken told us all the best about the local programming, although there's been other local programming. I mean, we're still doing events as they happen around town. Ed Sterling just gave a talk about the Central Mass Railroad, which I thought, Zach came back telling me that both Harvard TV and West Boylston TV were there.
Yeah,
West
that's
Boylston was actually
far-fetched.
filming.
Yeah.
So that was kind of interesting that they would go so far to see the presentation. But it's great. I mean, the more we interact with the other stations, the better off we are. System operation equipment needs. Well, I already sort of talked about that. It's been a really successful year. It's been a totally different experience for me with having additional staff people. So thank you. And I'm really excited about the budget end of this and long-term planning of some of this stuff that hasn't happened, and I think it's going to happen this year. And thank you, Herb, for being treasurer, and Ken for your continued guidance.
Good. Things are going well. Anybody have any questions? So the next thing on our list is the budget. And we don't actually have a budget, but we have discussion of the budget. We're trying to get to a point where we can either call a meeting next month and actually have a budget.
Yes.
Review and approve.
So, did you go with the annualized?
You want me to handle that?
So with the additional detail that we've had in the budget this year, it makes the forecasting process a lot easier for next year. So what Teresa did is basically took what our kind of year-to-date figures were, annualized them towards what a 2018 budget would look like, and then we made some assumptions both on the revenue side as well as on the expense side to add to the budget on both sides of that. Since the revenues from Comcast have gone up. We've adjusted the revenue number up slightly to reflect that.
Question, the revenue went up, do they ever go down? Is this an inflation adjustment, or?
Well, they could, but it hasn't.
What is it based on?
It's based on the number of subscribers and what they're subscribing to.
Ah.
So you would think that over a period of time, it might go down as people cut the cord, but it hasn't.
People are probably subscribing from, more stations.
It's a percentage of their revenue out of the town,
That's
basically.
right. Yeah, that's
Okay.
right. Yeah, there's a little tack on to whatever it is that there's a little tack on to your bill. And that's what it is, and that keeps going up. That keeps going up partly because new people move in and get Comcast, partly probably because people upgrade to various other services,
How many
including
people have
internet.
upgraded at this table? I haven't, and I just,
No,
I actually went
I have
from
limited basic.
DirecTV to Comcast, so I actually,
you upgraded.
I'm part of
Yeah.
the splash.
I have limited basic. so-
Yeah, so do I, and it just hasn't changed in 15 years.
But some people want more.
We have the package just above limited.
And that's the thing too. I think if you get bundles, I think we get a cut of bundles.
Yeah.
I don't know whether we get a cut of internet by itself, but we get a cut of bundles at least.
Internet
Yes,
is, but you can't buy internet from Comcast, it's gotta be a bundle, you can only buy 2 or 3.
So,
And-
That's
yeah.
not true. I used to
And so
get
that's where
Comcast.
I think that's
I got
where most
Comcast
people
as
get their
well.
internet.
Yeah.
And so, it doesn't go up a lot, but it keeps going up.
I mean, I owe my limited cost to Mr. Johnson over here when you told me about the right question to ask.
So in any case, that's part of why the revenues went up. It would have made sense to adjust them upwards if we know that the revenue is going up. If we're going to make any good assumptions about increasing costs, our real biggest asset here is the people who are here. So it seemed to make sense to do what we can to take care of people at the same time. So there was some additions that we put to the payroll and services side of things, and Teresa, you can explain those if you'd like.
So I really wanted to bring my staff up to what's more appropriate pay scale, as well as switch I have one cablecaster left that gets paid by event, and so I want to hire on 2 more cablecasters and put them at rates more appropriate. And so I have the job descriptions from Sterling Lancaster. They have videographer 1, videographer 2, videographer 3 that scale with the work and responsibility that they have. And so giving them the same pay scale as well as what happens over there, and giving these guys a more appropriate pay scale. And so I ran the numbers from what we had done in the past, and basically to change the cablecasters to this new pay scale is less than what we budgeted it would cost us this year for cablecasters. So the change really is sort of a no-brainer to do that. We're better off making that happen. As far as the raises for the personnel, for the payroll personnel, it is about a $5,300 increase, but we're still well within, it's only 65% of our budget, and we're operating at $150,000 less, or $15,000 less than what we actually have, and so it's really not going to make any difference.
And its scale, right?
Yeah. So
We basically projected out what the revenue would be and what our total expense would be, and there's a gap there of $15,000.
In the whole or plus?
plus
Yeah.
$18,000 actually when you.
Completely separate from any equipment budget. This is
Yes,
operation.
this is operation budget.
Strictly ops.
Okay.
So I'd like to utilize more of that in order to get everybody at a more appropriate pay
Since we're a
level.
nonprofit, I think it makes sense to.
Are you
And that's
required?
that's before completing the budget on the non-labor portions, right?
Right.
The 18K.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Are you required to separate CapEx and OpEx, or you just
Required to separate what?
CapEx and OpEx? Operating expense and capital?
I don't think so.
We do that.
Yeah.
Required by whom, though, I guess. that's the question.
Tax, well, this is a 501, right?
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
You know? No,
I mean, they do want to, I mean, they have categories in what you file.
Yeah,
In fact, I think maybe reflected in some of that is that, because they have labor and they have other things like that, but I don't think that it has to split that way.
just ask.
So I mean, basically, from an equipment point of view, it's whatever is in our checking account that we're not spending on a regular basis that is potential equipment money, along with what's in the town account.
I thought that the town account was the entire CapEx budget.
It is, but,
Since it's paid separately by, the reason I asked the question is, I asked earlier if Comcast made two separate payments. And I
Yes.
heard that they do, so
Yes,
that's
that's
why I
correct.
figured we probably had to, either by contract or tax code or something, we had to keep it separate, that's all.
no, it's just what we agreed with them, and it's a different, part of the tax that is on or the fee that's on people's bills.
Oh, okay, all right.
But the contract with them is that they would pay us 4.5%, I believe it is, for the operations, and $12,000 a year for equipment.
Okay.
And they give us that $12,000 in June, and that basically stays in the town account until we're ready to spend it. What I'm saying, though, is that our current balance in the checking account is in the vicinity of $50,000 plus or minus, over and above, in a sense, over and above what the 120,000 we get for the year. So there is a cushion there that is either a cushion for operational issues or could potentially buy something. I mean, we did not go to the town to ask for the money for the NAS. We had it in the checking account there.
It's just that when you start defining a capital plan, particularly with a longer-term roadmap, the numbers are going to be a lot bigger.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Yeah, and we need
that's
to.
why I'm trying to get a
Yeah,
feel
that's
for
right.
whether
That's right.
we're cross-contaminated,
Yeah.
cross-contaminated,
Yeah, and
cross-pollinated.
yeah, and we're not.
No.
And I don't think we are. And I think
Okay.
if we can continue with the way that, if we could approach this, if either the 18K surplus or within the 120 that we know that we're going to be getting for our revenue, then that's a good thing, because that covers our operation, and so there is a little bit of flexibility in that fund.
So we've got a little, basically what it amounts to is, we'll build the capital expense with the hard dollars that they give us, and then we're gonna have a little bit of elasticity, hopefully with the surplus, if we needed it,
Yeah.
to supplement the
That's
budget, to
exactly-
make a
that's
threshold
exactly
if we needed to.
That's exactly right. And,
Okay.
yeah, and if we are able to get by with what we have for a longer period of time, then the capital that keeps going in may well be enough to buy whatever we need to buy,
Yeah,
Cassis or whatever other system it might be.
yeah.
And if it is, then, we can still have that surplus
Yeah.
there that we can work with on other things.
Yeah, I'm thinking that, if we make a commitment to this longer-term plan, and that's why I asked the question, if the money goes up, can it also go down?
It
So-
could. It
So
could.
we may need to have that little rainy day bounce there.
That's true. And I think in general, the cable stations have that worry out there, that they're dependent on cable revenues from a technology that some people are going away from. But so far, it has not hit us, but it could. And this is one of the reasons why Sterling Lancaster, for example, spends a lot of its time trying to find other sources of money, working with people to do income-generating things.
That's why I
All
was
that sort
asking
of
about the
stuff.
asset and, where we
Yeah.
might be able to see some
Yeah,
additional.
and there's certainly ways that we could do it. It's just that we're staff limited to be able to.
I think the good news here
Look
probably
outside.
is, yes, I think that cable is, I won't use the word dying, but it's probably maturing. But I think out in a more rural area, people have fewer choices than they do perhaps in the inner cities, so it might be a little slower out here.
Well, and one of the things that people have asked, both before the contract was renewed and since then, is, can we get any competition? Well, the answer is no. And the answer is no, not because we don't want competition, but it's because there's an agreement amongst all of the cable companies that Comcast has Bolton, and that's it. Because they put in the infrastructure. And if somebody else comes in, somebody else is going to have to put in infrastructure. They don't want to do that. And the only competition that there really is involves FiOS. And FiOS stopped at the town line. They were going to come here, they decided not to. They stopped there. So Stowe has competition, and they have both. So
Well,
they get money from Comcast and they get money from Verizon.
It wasn't, I don't think it was the fact that it was Bolton that slowed FiOS down. They were just reevaluating their capital expenditures.
I agree.
Because they weren't seeing the growth as
I
much as
agree,
they thought.
but the point is it stopped. But they had talked about doing something here, but they didn't. In the same time, they didn't do it some other places.
Well, probably the only reason they could get away with it is they're also the local exchange carrier, so they've got a lot of the infrastructure.
That could be,
Yeah.
but, so, you know, it's sort of, at the moment at least, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think we need to keep an eye on the long term and on
Exactly.
how the technology changes
Exactly.
and have some ideas in mind, but we don't necessarily have to make them work right away. But I mean, if we fell into a situation or could develop a situation where we can work out some deals with companies or deals with other nonprofits or whatever it is to work together on things, or this is why several years ago I suggested merging with Sterling Lancaster, because they're twice as large as we are, at least, maybe more.
Mhm.
And so there are huge economies of scale if you could pull it off. We couldn't pull it off. We may someday be able to, who knows, but
Do you think that any kind of agreement is still something that could be worked out with them? Would they be interested, is the question.
at the moment they aren't. But they are interested in continuing to cooperate with us and work with us on a lot of different things.
So going.
But they went and built a studio, even though we had one that they could have used.
Well, possibly Comcast might be more amenable to bringing high def to one of the three towns rather than three. And if there's, maybe we could share a head end on that. I don't know. A head end
That's
downlink
possible,
on that.
I don't know. That's certainly possible.
Because that does.
We haven't heard anything from Comcast actually as to what their plans are. Once they have plans, presumably, they will be the ones to carry the water about it and get the implementations done and things
Yeah.
like that, rather than making the town spend their money on it. But, you know, I don't think we know yet until then. And I'm not, and frankly, it would be interesting to know how many people watch Channel 99 as opposed to look at the government meetings online. I imagine it's hugely tilted in the direction of online, and if it is, then it would seem to me that the benefits of HD in the short term are practically zero.
Well, the point that I saw with it is it enables us to to grab a lot of quality programming off satellite.
That could be.
And that's why I originally proposed this, because I went and, went to one of those providers and talked to them, and they actually issued me a license. So that would give us a lot of quality programming to backfill any space that we had, and we could pick and choose what we wanted at no cost, other than that
But can't
$300
you,
satellite link, downlink.
couldn't we show HD programs on our station, just not in HD?
Well, we have to convert, because the output, the downlink is all 1080. It's all high def. And so what we have to do is basically convert that down to whatever 420 analog.
That's very simple. We generate HD internally.
Yeah, I know we
and
do.
convert it down just to put it on Comcast.
It's the last mile up to Clinton that's the problem.
Yeah.
Well, I was just thinking that a lot of this program is just really high quality, and
Yeah.
to not use the 1080 when it's being given to you in,
Right, yeah.
kind of a waste.
That's true, but if you don't have the technology, you don't have the
Actually,
technology.
the change to HD is probably more likely to happen as state regulation rather than anything we do anyway, so I think it's coming in the next year or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all. It would be nice, sooner the better, because it gives us opportunities for free content. And to Teresa's point, a number of these meetings, content costs money, except when it isn't.
No, it doesn't, we spend like $40 a year on content.
You told me that when you're producing things like in the studio, whatever, it costs a lot of money.
Well, that's to produce it,
Yeah.
but the content well,
I'm talking about produced content.
okay, I see. All right.
You know, news programs.
Can we save this for the mission part?
Yeah.
And let's get through this part.
I was gonna say.
Traditionally, we have done the whole budget for this annual meeting, but because we went to this new accounting system, there's all these blank lines in our budget that we spent money on those line items. And so I'm systematically going through and making sure that the numbers there are good numbers, so that the future is a better place. So it's just taking a bit longer to get the budget together. And so it looks like we'll need to have a meeting next month to just approve the budget. So I'm hoping everybody will be available.
Yeah, and, you know, maybe we can have some other things to cover then too, but.
Could I just ask a question, simple
Please.
question about telephone charge? Does that include cables to like the schools or something?
No, it's my cell phone.
That's all it is?
No, I
Your
don't,
cell phone?
That's not our
$4,000
Comcast
yeah.
charge.
it's the business line to this building,
Yeah.
the charges for that, and my cell phone.
In the business line of the building, we have 3 lines coming in.
Mhm.
And they're through Comcast. And we have a business package with Comcast that has the 3 lines plus, I don't know if I can't remember if they throw in the programming that we get or not, but anyway, it's a bundle of stuff, because it has our internet in it as well as that. It's like $300 and something a month.
So 2017 is like $800 a month.
Okay, could be, maybe I'm wrong about maybe it's a separate bill. I thought that it was the same, but I actually don't remember. Which line is it? I'm sorry?
Telephone is third from the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't made it to that line yet to give you a really clear definition of what's in there, Susan.
Okay.
I'm working from the top, so
All right.
when I get there, we'll be able to, I'll be able to tell you better what's in there.
Okay.
But I do know my cell phone goes in there, and I believe the Comcast bill goes in there.
But Graham, but based on the expenditures in that, the January through October, which is 10 months, is 4,300. So it's really just 432 spent. It was 8,000 budgeted, but it's only 432.
Oh,
432 a month that's been spent so far. And that adds up, because I do recall that the Comcast bill is in the vicinity of 340, and then her phone is in the vicinity of 100 or a little
Yeah.
less or something like that. So I think that's in line.
It looks it.
And now what I can't tell you is what we put in to come up with 8,244 for the budget last year, but that's what Teresa's talking about, that she'll use this year's experience as the budget driver for next time, rather than last year's budget number. And we'll try to send this budget out in advance of the meeting, so that if you have any questions, we can clear them up before we meet and things like that. And certainly if there's any detail that you don't understand or isn't clear, then just as Susan just did, by all means ask the questions by email, and we can make sure they're covered in what we send out and what we discuss later. Anything else on that right now? And so does
I don't remember how this works exactly, but I guess I gotta ask, so this change in pay rate, this is only for next year, starting in January? Or can that be voted on to change the cable caster? Because I need to hire 2 cable casters now.
Well,
I mean, is it inappropriate to ask for it to be?
Why don't you just hire them, pay them what you're planning to pay them? And then you're in line with what's gonna.
well, that-
Right, but
that's what she's-
that
that's what
changes
she's
the
asking.
budget numbers
She just
now.
wants to make sure that
And-
it's okay.
Right. And I mean, these guys deserve a raise now, not a month from
That's
now.
more a
Did we-
2017 issue than a 2018 issue, isn't it?
That's what I'm saying.
Well, we budgeted an increase, right?
For who?
These guys, or some guys.
These
No.
guys.
I believe we did.
And,
I
well,
did.
that's what
I
these
did,
numbers
and
reflect.
in what I put together, I don't know whether what I put together is what actually ended up there, but the thing that monthly spreadsheet that I laid out had an increase for them around this time.
Okay,
So I think we're probably okay budget-wise to do that.
okay.
So I personally have no objection to
Well, I
that.
guess, do I need a vote to make that happen, or is that, can,
It can't hurt. I mean, you explained to them what
right?
you were looking for, so is that okay with everybody?
Does anybody have any
We're talking about
objections to?
the 16 as the number we're using.
So in 1 second, you're gonna
You're
go,
seeing-
So do we need to?
Hearing
a motion
no
to-
objection, then let's go ahead with that, and you can implement that now for them and hire somebody in that.
awesome. Congratulations, earned it.
Spend it wisely.
2017 management.
Okay, so let's talk
But you gotta vote then.
So let's talk some about where we want to try to go with some of this. We began beating around the bush with some of this and some of the things we've talked about, but
Remarkably on time.
let's see where we are. Is there Sharon? No? So I guess first, does everybody have a copy of the mission and goals that Teresa sent out?
Just in case you.
It's a relatively straightforward list.
I have it on my computer.
Oh, sorry, you have to share it. Because I don't have this.
Just the cozy corner over there.
So is there any issue with the mission statement? Did we have does anybody know if we had a mission statement in the bylaws?
We don't, that was the whole point of doing this, is that we don't have anything that's.
So nobody has ever proposed a mission statement?
No.
Okay.
I think you really
For some
ought to
reason I
spell
thought
out
they had, but,
PEG.
Okay,
what's that?
PEG should be spelled out.
I had asked a question today earlier.
Well, I assumed that it was because it was parentheses there, but you're right.
Yeah.
Is it more than public communication? Is it also entertainment or well-being or some other word in addition to communications?
Communication is so broad.
I think that's the point of it.
Yeah, it can cover anything.
Okay.
So it can cover education or entertainment or
Okay.
political discussion.
That's what I was asking.
I think that's why they used it, so that it's public education and government.
Should we add an adjective?
And what?
Fantastic.
Stupendous.
Stupendous.
Something with the final intent in mind, not necessarily literally, but useful, beneficial, communication that benefits the community in some way.
Yeah, but then you run into issues of.
How do you measure whether it's a benefit or not?
Yeah,
Well, yes.
yeah, you run into.
I'm just
Well,
thinking of an adjective in general,
so-
not necessarily that one.
Yeah.
So you're enhancing public communication. Well, that you could, yell louder and you're, that's enhancing it.
Maybe, I
Not
wonder
improving
if,
quality.
I even have trouble with enhancing.
How about facilitating?
facilitating, encouraging. Yeah, I like facilitating better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Facilitating, yeah. Because that's much easier to measure. You're either promoting it or you're not, than
Yeah.
enhancing, which is
Yeah,
a degree.
we're a resource here for the
So
town to
so it's
use.
facilitating rather than enhancing?
Yep.
Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
that's- yeah.
Okay.
Who are the designees?
Bolton residents and designees.
Yeah, I wasn't clear on that. Is that something from,
But there's a guy in Alaska that we think should see this.
I think that's because there are others besides residents who are entitled to use our facilities.
How about because you actually share, don't you, potentially, with other cable?
Right.
So
Yeah.
that would be a designee. We're going to send it to Lancaster because the citizens of Lancaster might be interested in X. Yeah.
But you don't have to be a resident of Bolton, according to our bylaws, to be a member of Bolton Access TV and to produce programming and borrow equipment and all that.
Yeah.
oh, okay.
So-
There we go.
Yeah.
I think that's, I don't know if it's the right
Would it-
word, but that's what they
Would
would
it
get.
be, would it be clear to say, or as appropriate to say other communities?
Well, except that it's
Not
residents.
necessarily.
So you can't,
communities, yeah.
you
Yeah.
can't go from residents to communities.
Designee could be
You
either.
could.
You know, this is, it's a good term.
Designee?
We like designee.
It's so specifically vague. I love it.
Well, it's by our selection, is what we're saying, and that's,
Although, since none of us understood it, it might behoove us. to
I
change
understood it.
None of the rest of us understood it. And if we're gonna, if this is, a public statement, maybe we could say, all Bolton residents and what?
Other interested parties.
Yeah, or other, folks from other communities.
Because the
something
thing
like
is,
that.
but see, the thing is that once you put it up on the internet, anybody can look at it. So on the stuff on Camp Virginia, all I had to do was to give the URL to the Sudbury Valley trustees, people I'm working with, and they could watch the meeting just as easily as anybody else could.
They're a
But
designee
they're not-
because you
well,
gave the
Yeah, they're a
URL.
designee, but they could have done it even without, just by stumbling on it if they wanted to, is the point. I mean, it could have been anybody.
And when we get it
They
up
don't have-
to.
We don't have to decide.
Could
They
it
can-
be-
About interested parties?
Or the public
Yeah, yeah,
at
that's
large,
right,
or
yeah,
is
that's
it, or
right.
is it
We'll
the
just-
public at large? It's to make access to
Well,
all
we are
the
reading-
public at large, right?
we are reaching the rest of our market by the internet, which is, nation or worldwide, for the people who are interested, primarily because they're from Bolton.
And once it gets onto YouTube, it is really available to whoever wants it.
They're watching it
Find
around the
You
world.
know,
It's
they're-
all
they're-
Bolton and world.
It might be slim, but if you look up Selectmen in YouTube, it is a possibility that at some point they could stumble across one of our
The
videos.
less you define it, the better, actually.
Well, I think that's sort of,
The point is-
because I don't want to provide and promote media access to the world.
Well,
big
but you could.
Wow.
The way that you could do it, you would say,
I need more staff.
but you could say that you were providing and promoting media access for the purpose of facilitating communications within Bolton, without saying who it went to, but just say that, so our focus is Bolton.
Yeah.
But anybody can look at it. I mean, that's one way you could deal with it.
Wait,
Well, I don't
say
care.
that, say that
Look at
again.
the other way,
Oh, you
but-
right, just
Yeah,
Rewrite
provide
that
and
again.
promote PEG media access to, PEG media access for the purpose of facilitating public communication within the
Within Bolton.
community of Bolton.
Because that speaks to the thing that it doesn't have to be Bolton residents or anybody else's
Well,
residents. It's
rather
just-
than within, just say for the community of Bolton.
yeah, I like that
Whatever it may be.
better.
Yeah, no, I think that sounds good.
Because you don't want to, you don't want it to be interpreted as you can't address other pressing issues like health care or
A peace
or
march.
state taxes,
Yeah.
or,
Right,
yeah,
right.
so
So
for might
provide-
be better than within.
Provide and promote PEG media access for the purpose of facilitating public communication for the community of Bolton.
Yeah, so you've done, you had this all done.
So just so everybody knows, this was voted on by the board at Sterling Lancaster, and this is their actual approved,
Ours is better.
I guess so. But they probably did all the work, so.
Bless their heart.
That's
So
okay.
without Bolton.
Yeah.
Plagiarism is the sincerest form of flattery, so it's okay.
Access for the purpose. And having media access that is a term. That's a really great loaded term. So,
So we agree on that?
Are we missing,
We're still,
are we missing the and designees part of this by cutting them out? Is there some other, it does sound insular at this point.
I don't know, I think when we talk about the community of Bolton, it really goes beyond the borders.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see how it could be interpreted that way, even though what we tried to do was to make it broader. I can see how what you're saying, that it could be inferred by someone that they're not allowed, when in fact they are
Right,
allowed.
yeah.
Say, for the community.
Or you could just say to
other
all.
designees.
You could just say to
The
all,
community of
Access
Bolton.
to all.
just say to all.
Oh, there you go. That's
Promote
nice.
media access to all for the purpose of
The
facilitating
target is
communication of
Bolton, but there will
Bolton.
be splatter, right?
Yeah,
All right, so say it again.
yeah.
Just reinsert to all,
Leave out the splatter.
but take out the rest of it, so it's to all, so it's to everybody,
Provide and promote PEG media access to all.
for the purpose of facilitating public communications of Bolton.
For the
Yeah.
community.
Yeah.
That- That's actually, yeah.
Great teamwork.
Think you can do this, guys?
Yeah, nice. You rewrote a sentence.
Java code, I love it.
Making vague some words.
Exactly. Shut this off here.
Okay, we move into the next one?
Well, can we
We
vote?
can always come back.
Oh,
Yeah, we can always come back, either way.
I like getting the votes in.
okay.
So is everybody all right with the mission statement?
Yeah.
Okay.
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Okay,
It's anonymous, yes.
Is somebody taking notes? Anyone?
sort of.
We're watching you.
We are recording it, so we have our.
It's true, Ryan said.
Well,
they're
that's
taking
true.
notes on it.
That's true, they can create minutes when we're done.
Yeah. Zach.
They can earn their $16.
That's
I
true.
never read my contract on that one.
Other duties is assigned.
Jump in front of the bus.
I think you're a designee here.
Yeah, but we took this.
Okay, so we have goals. So we're saying local programming, government programming, citizen involvement, and giving them the ability to do it.
I like the first one, that really sums it up.
So this first one is all about what we schedule, right? And that
And what
we provide local stuff
Yeah,
to
It's
schedule
more than
as well.
scheduling, because it's also production, right?
Right,
Yeah, so it's local production, and then the externally produced is obviously what we schedule.
right.
And there's certainly no argument about that goal.
What does the word consistent refer to there?
Meaning we'll stay on the air.
don't follow that.
To a schedule, to a regular schedule is the way I read it.
Oh, I see, oh, I see, okay.
Anybody else?
Okay, all right, so you're saying, yeah, all right.
And I see it as not necessarily regularly scheduled, so not that at Tuesday night at 8, there's always the same program on, but
Not the same program, but there's, the two channels are populated consistently to a schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah, the content changes, but it's consistent. It may be
Right.
locally produced, it may be externally produced.
Got it.
And the
Okay.
externally produced would be where we could get additional content, you know, that we could rebroadcast at no cost when we get around to that.
Yeah.
And so, where does,
But we are saying we're gonna provide consistent local content,
Yeah.
that we're not gonna just be all externally produced.
No, the external, what my thought process on the external was, is it would backfill. The primary mission is local.
Okay.
But you and I have had the discussion about, you know, we've had to repeat a lot of things, and if you had some additional quality externally produced content, you can find a place to put it, right?
Yeah.
And if we do go to HD, I think we wind up with an additional channel or something. We wind up with some more bandwidth, do we not? But,
Not that I know of.
no? Is it still the same two
Yeah.
channels,
Yeah.
Bob?
I think that's true.
Oh, okay. So, but either way, you've got time within your 48 hours per day with those two channels to backfill if you had some additional content.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Although we're doing TED Talks now, pretty damn good.
yeah, well,
So I still don't understand consistent. I think maybe you mean something else there besides consistent.
Regularly scheduled.
Let me ask another question that maybe is related to that is, this is fine for the two channels, what about the YouTube channel and, I guess, town hall streams, but, you know, what about the internet? Is that covered by this as well, or is that a separate goal?
That's gotta be a separate goal.
well, where does it tell you what the delivery vehicle is? It doesn't.
There's no delivery vehicle mentioned here.
So YouTube's a delivery vehicle, it's just another channel.
Right.
Except that what we put on that is not the same as what we put on TV necessarily.
Right, we don't put any externally produced programs on the internet.
We couldn't, well, I don't know, we couldn't, but wouldn't, yeah, it's mostly local, isn't it, that we use YouTube for? So that's just the local stuff. The local, the way I read this, and tell me if anybody reads it differently, is local is stuff that is generated from within Bolton, and external could be something that
Oh,
we
absolutely.
download from a
Yeah, no,
provider,
right,
another.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yes, yes.
And I think the mission statement, the strategic goals, shouldn't necessarily talk to the channels because those are tactical implementation. They don't belong in strategic goals.
That's a good point.
Yep.
Okay, so back to consistent.
Does everybody get this but me?
Do you want to just strike consistent?
Well,
Can you give us a different word that you're thinking is,
Strike consistent.
Well, I'm not
That's where
sure
confusion is.
why you said consistent, so I can't give you a different word.
so I didn't say this is not my writing. This is
Okay.
what was agreed to at Sterling Lancaster Community
Yeah.
Television.
So what if you took out
So
consistent?
when I read it though, that's
That
what
would be
I'm
fine
reading,
with
that
me.
not only are we on the air, but we continue to schedule for the two stations and continue to provide it. So consistently meaning all the meetings go up to YouTube, so that's where I read the consistent, because
Yeah.
like when we're off the air, we're in a
Would-
panic
Would taking
to
out
get back
consistent,
on.
would taking out consistent change any of that?
I think so.
Would it be all right to provide inconsistent local and external?
Can you think of
Right.
it like ongoing?
Well, some stations
some of
do.
those.
Yeah, the implication is it's not, we're gonna do
In other words,
one
we care
program
whether it's
next week and then we're
consistent or not.
done.
Yeah.
This is ongoing, it's repeating.
it's
not that-
it's reliable.
Well, just
Yeah.
the fact that you're
Reliable.
recording all these
Right.
meetings, every single meeting. for
Well,
the
reliable,
list.
yeah, I like that. I understand that.
But reliable could also be every other Tuesday, Thursday morning, and it's not that, right? It's consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
we're
can
on the
turn
air,
it
what,
on.
from 7 in the morning to 11 at night every day.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, and it does also imply that you're consistently recording the meetings. It's
Right.
not like, well, we'll do the ones we feel like.
Right.
I mean, reliable.
Oh, yeah,
reliable.
except that that's a whole nother can of worms.
Well, reliable is one of those terms that's well, reliable to who? It's,
Yeah, how do you
know,
measure reliable?
Right. Consistent, to me, says weekly, or, okay, every time the selectmen meet.
Well, to me, it's the other side of it. Not being consistent means we're not on the air.
How about
Right.
continuing?
And that's
That work?
where we.
Yeah, but I don't know that that's exactly what
What was the word?
she.
Continuing.
I don't know that that's exactly what Teresa.
Not the
mentioned.
same thing.
Well, no, it
Consistent,
isn't.
Yeah.
Consistent, is it? I think.
Yeah, well-
9 nods and 1.
You make-
The
you make your-
nods have it, maybe?
You make your 5
I mean,
nines.
we can move forward if you all don't mind consistent, then I can get over that. I don't know if I can get over quality in the next statement.
So, I think that the quality television means that the quality of the signal, not the quality of the program.
Over which we have no control because you're just seeing what these people do
Right.
when they're meeting together.
But I would, but I would change
That's
the
not
word
at all.
television to media because it's more than television
Media
coverage,
coverage.
in my opinion.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I would take out quality.
So provide media coverage of local government community activities.
I have heard in the few meetings that I've attended over the last 2 years, a real concern about technical quality. That's a big deal in this group. That
You mean resolution of the picture?
the picture, yeah, you can hear the voices, pictures are good. This is not sloppy, it's not sloppy work, right? So I think saying quality television coverage is saying something about the standards.
Yeah,
that we
except that
have.
the word quality speaks to many other variables besides the signal.
I agree.
And
But
that's
I-
the issue that I have. with
I
it.
can
If
see
the-
that.
If the specified signal, that would be okay with me. But when you start saying that you're gonna provide quality television coverage, and then some child wants to come in and put video on of something that is not well shot or well edited, then you can make an argument that that's not quality, and so it shouldn't be aired, when as a matter of fact, maybe it would be in our best interest to air it. So-
Perhaps you could say, provide broadcast quality, so that we're referring to more technical aspects rather than the actual, content.
Yeah, except that it's not broadcast, none of it's
But
broadcast.
see, I don't, but I
Right,
don't,
or maybe we could say something
Not
that,
the analog
that tends toward the
You could say
technical.
technical
Yeah,
quality.
sometimes we
maybe.
can't make a selection
Sure.
of
Yeah.
quality.
Right,
I don't
that's
think
the
that-
issue, right.
I don't read the goal as technical at all. Because the first goal is locally and externally produced general interest programs.
Mhm.
The second goal is local government and community activities. So to me, it's talking about what you cover, and to me, quality is what we do with government that the other people don't, for example. We have very high-quality government programming because we cover practically everybody.
Yeah,
It may be
I,
good and it may not be good, but we do.
my concern
That'd be
is
high
the
quantity as opposed to
expectations
quality.
that this may raise,
Agreed.
maybe for a board in the future, or maybe for the public who,
I
don't
think
like
it-
something that we do, or,
It's a valid point.
I think it is our goal, whether we meet the goal or not, and we should be subject to criticism if we don't. So I think it's an appropriate goal.
to me, it speaks of censorship.
Which speaks of censorship?
Quality?
Yeah,
The word
quality. Yeah,
How do you mean that?
Quality
Wow.
speaks of censorship, is that what you
Yeah.
said?
I see what Susan's saying. I
Yeah.
mean, you know,
How?
but it's television coverage. So that implies that it's the coverage of the program, not the program itself, that's quality.
So in
Yeah,
other words,
but-
in other words, the
what's the
fact that we have
adjective?
3 cameras in
Now I'm
here,
really confused.
and that they move around to different people, and that we get it up onto the internet as well as on the TV station, and we do it live when we can, all that is part of the quality of what we're providing of that local programming.
And also to the
Local
town.
government
cable
So I
programs.
think the quality, I think, is about the coverage. It's not about the television programming, right? It's quality television coverage.
Is there another word we
Yes.
could use that would point more to the coverage than, you know, making it more subject
Did
to
you say
interpretation?
comprehensive?
No, I
No.
think that's quite what they mean.
I mean, so if we say provide quality media
Coverage.
of local government,
I'd still say coverage, media
Yeah.
coverage.
media coverage of local government,
But isn't it, it is primarily television. The other, all the other forms come from the television coverage.
Say video.
They're not, I mean, it's television coverage that goes to YouTube.
Right, but say
It's
video.
not, it's not really good note-taking.
So call it.
well,
call
when
it
we,
video.
when we have HD, we send that to YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
to get better quality. So it is, we would have to then convert that to run that on the air.
Yeah,
So we actually have better quality programming on YouTube,
yeah.
not content, but
It strikes me that I'm flashing back to 8th grade when we did the sentence structure thingies. And and the quality is an adjective describing television coverage.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nothing else but that.
What if you took consistent out of number 1 and moved it down to number 2? Because it seems like when we talk consistent, that's what I think of as the coverage of the local government and community meetings. So we're consistently covering meetings and government, that's what's consistent. Whereas providing consistent local and externally produced general interest programs, do we need the word consistent there?
It could be in both.
Or it could be in
Mm.
both?
So I don't
Yeah,
think the
could,
word
couldn't it?
consistent should be in the second one. The second one is talking, now sets us up to do all the government.
Yeah, you got a
Okay.
point there. Yeah.
True, yeah.
Well, except that it's the second listed goal.
Except we do all the government.
But-
So you're right, that it does.
Maybe
not
go
all of
into forever.
Right. But we're the only one doing it, and,
Right.
that, we don't really need to do it, and do we really want to do it? Those are all the questions that stem out of this, so. And I mean, I think in the first one, it's consistent, local, and externally produced. I think that makes sense, that,
We just take out quality,
Yeah,
period?
yeah, I'm wondering what.
I mean,
if we
nowadays,
Just
I-
take out quality, yeah.
I
so
mean,
just provide media coverage.
Yeah, or you could say video coverage. You want to say video coverage? Is that
video.
better?
Yeah, I like
Than
media much
television?
better.
Media's better?
Media's
But
better.
that could be print and all kinds of stuff.
Well, nowadays, I
Yeah,
mean,
sure could.
honestly, this is
Absolutely could.
quality. I mean, what's
Right.
quality? This is not like Wayne's World anymore. you know?
Right, right.
Yeah. That was quality.
That was fun.
Yeah, really.
I love that
Somebody- So just say provide,
Media coverage.
Coverage of
media
local
coverage.
government and community active.
local and community activities.
Does it provide media coverage of local?
Government and community activity.
Because now that it is going on, I mean, technically we're using the video cameras, but it's going on YouTube, it's going on Facebook,
Yeah.
it's going on, so,
Mm.
media
Mm.
is inclusive of social media, regular, the PEG style.
It gets back to the whole
And
thing.
then we
where
don't have
let's
to
not be
touch on
tactical
quality.
about it.
Yeah.
Now, are these strategic goals for 2018, or are they,
For the rest of our life, till we change
so
it.
how often would we,
So we decide whether that-
how often would we look at these?
So I would think that when we do capital planning, we'd be looking at these, because our money needs to go to make these goals happen. I think that whenever we make a decision, we need to reflect back on the goals and on our mission. And this presents the guiding principle of the roadmap
Yeah.
Indeed.
and the capital plan and everything else, so.
Yeah, this should be a real help in terms of making decisions. Because you can have a really great looking idea, and we look at our strategic goals and we go, does it fit in anywhere here? We don't know. Lovely idea, but not for
Maybe
us.
except that these are so broad that you could fit anything into it.
We could make it fit.
Maybe not. Because
We
I
almost-
actually don't understand number 3, so.
But this
we'll
almost,
get to that.
seems to me this almost says that that you need to come up with a series of annual goals or triennial goals or whatever that relate to these strategic goals. So in other words, number 2, in order to provide that media coverage, we might have a goal for the coming year of live streaming on YouTube.
Exactly.
I know I do.
So you
And
need
so forth.
implementation goals. I mean, these are more abstract.
Yeah, but that's a
More
separate
concrete
document.
I agree, but I'm
Yeah.
just saying that if these are timeless and are covering more or less everything, then we still may need to come up with individual ones that
Well,
are more time sensitive
Yeah.
and that have some priority attached to them.
Yeah.
Well, these are the whats, and you weave the hows into them. And you basically link the hows into them at the next level, right?
That's fine.
So number 3, Sharon doesn't understand.
I don't actually, honestly, I don't understand it. So, what's the citizen involvement through advertising?
So like, we put our schedule in the paper every week.
Ah, okay. I was thinking, asking them to advertise on
But are we-
ours, okay.
But
we're
what are
advertising
we,
to
Here we go.
watch.
what is
Assess them to watch, okay.
what is the goal wanting the citizens to be involved in? It seems to me that there's a phrase missing after involvement. Promote citizen involvement in something or other through these things. Because
think it's
it could be in this community, but it could be in the TV station.
Well, we want them to
I think it's for
consume the
this-
product, right?
What about promote
We also
citizen?
want them to be the product.
Do we? In a commercial case, the people are the product, but are they in this case?
No, actually, I want to give you a
Promote citizen
camera and you go out
involvement.
and film something and bring it back and say, here, you can air this now.
You're the
So
product.
that's
So I'd like you to be the
involvement in
product.
Bolton TV access, right?
What's that?
That's involvement in Bolton access
Access
TV.
TV.
Right.
I got it wrong.
Oh,
So to
okay.
mention, if you mention the advertising,
And
what
I
if
think that
you,
would help you to
what if
better
you say
understand
promote
what it
citizen
means.
viewership
If
and
that's true.
involvement? Does that branch it out a bit so that the advertising makes sense? So you advertise the paper for the program schedule. So we're promoting viewership
And
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 involvement. So,
Mm.
so people can do one or the other, or they can do both, would be the idea, right?
Well, but if you're viewing it, you're involved.
Right.
I mean,
That's what the advertising is so that people can get the schedules in the paper.
right, so that they know
that's-
we're here, so they're aware that we're here.
Right.
So community presence, and they know what we do, and hopefully they want to get involved.
So if we
Hopefully
add
wanna-
promote citizen viewership and involvement, is that, Is that
Something
the-
like that.
I agree with Teresa, if you're watching, you're involved, so why do you have to say everyone watches?
well, actually, not
Well-
really, because it seems like we have two missions. We want people to watch. There's a lot of people who are never going to walk into the station and pick up a camera. And then
But
there's
those-
other people.
But those that do are involved. So those that watch and those that pick up cameras and do production are both involved.
They are technically, but
And I think
involvement
that's-
sounds a little bit more active, like I have to be involved involved.
If you turn on the station, I think you're being pretty active.
Well, that's also viewing.
Yeah, but if you think of the advantage to having these strategic goals, then if we're having this discussion about what involvement means, and some people think it means watching as well as coming and getting the camera and shooting, and other people think that isn't what it means, then this needs revision, because we have to be able to understand what it means.
Right.
See, I was thinking that it had to do with the mission statement, that we were promoting citizen involvement in public communication.
Mhm.
Right.
So it's that too.
So you could do that, but I think
So
in
not-
the
not
note, you
in
need,
the TV.
you need that in phrase with something. It doesn't have to be in Bolton Access TV, but it ought to be something.
What about participation?
And maybe it is more of the, in the media access thing, or in the public media or whatever.
So replace involvement with participation.
Participation's a mighty big brush, thinking about it different things.
Doesn't
I like
matter.
the idea.
I'd say viewing is participation.
I like the idea of spelling out viewing, if that's one of your goals, is to increase viewership.
Well, that's consumption.
Well, that doesn't matter. I mean, so
think
it's
involvement's
consumption, but I don't think that we can assume that involvement is the same as viewership.
I agree with you.
I don't think it is.
I think it
Much
should be
broader than
both.
that.
I would do both.
Yeah. I don't see any reason not to say viewership, if that's one of the goals that we have. So you have viewership, and then you have participation, or what was some of the other words people came up with?
So promote citizen viewership and involvement.
Yeah, well, you can do it like that, yeah.
Or does somebody have a better way, a different way?
Involvement's the next step after participation, right? Or viewership.
Viewership and involvement.
I like
Yeah, and so
participation.
viewership
I just
is
like
staying at home watching, and involvement is coming in and working in the studio, or going out and recording something, or being on the board,
Right.
or
That's the
camera
recruitment
casting, or
part.
whatever it is. And that's where the recruitment comes in, that's
Yeah.
right, exactly.
If that's what we mean, we should say it. In
Yeah.
other words, we should say involvement in Bolton Access TV, involvement. in
Yeah, so it's
Bolton Access
viewership,
TV.
viewership of and involvement in
What about,
Bolton Access
what
TV.
about promote citizen consumption through, because you're consuming, whether you watch it, whether you're involved in the community presence where you want to go out and, what's that?
I'm sorry, I just had this picture of vampires showing up here.
You know,
I'm like, we're not safe.
cool shoes. So,
I like open in
and then recruitment is also,
Like oven.
well, maybe this is too abstract.
viewership of.
Consumption and recruitment
I
are
do too.
kind of loaded words. I mean, they
Yeah.
seem,
Promote citizen viewership of and involvement in
I think that's,
Bolton Access
it's
TV.
more words, but I think
Through
that,
advertising.
I think that, yeah, through advertising,
I'll be
community
hobbling because of
presence.
you.
So we're advertising,
Now that's
we're advertising it for
clear.
people to
That's
watch
clear.
and for people to be involved.
Right.
We're in the community so that they can see and hope they'll want to get involved, and we're recruiting people to get
Yeah.
involved.
So
Yeah.
obviously, we have a better handle on the English language than the board members from Sterling.
better believe it.
Yeah, we do.
Pretty
sober.
So you can send it, Teresa, after we're done, you can send it back to them and say, here, you can use this at your next board meeting.
We improved.
Thanks for getting us started. Here's
Yeah, here's what you really ought to have.
Yeah.
I didn't really think that it would go over without any changes, frankly, but it's pretty
Really nice
fun.
footwork.
Yeah.
It's a good start.
I like the vampire.
And they-
What's that?
They can benefit, if they want to, they
It's
can
what
benefit from
industry
our,
uses.
Yeah,
or not.
Consumption of
Okay.
the product.
Yes. So we like that, promote citizen viewership of and involvement in Bolton Access TV through advertising, community presence, and recruitment.
Sums it up.
Yeah. Now I understand it.
Okay, number 4, provide equipment and promote television production training to the citizens of the Bolton area.
What if you said, provide equipment and teach television production to the citizens of Bolton?
Oh, instead of.
Although then you will have to follow through with the.
Is it
Uh,
television
Then
production or
you've got
is it video
something measurable
production?
that you need to do.
Or media production, yeah.
Mm.
You
Or
could say
video?
that.
Promoting it means that you're going to offer it. Teaching it means you're actually going to do it.
Yeah.
There's going to be measurable criteria here. I don't think we want to do that.
Well, I don't know, what's the point of promoting them if you're not going to do it?
Well, you advertise
Well, you're
that you can take classes in doing this at the high school.
Yeah,
Right.
good point, yeah.
Yeah,
They
or
accept
you
it.
could say,
Yeah.
or you could say provide training opportunities. So provide television production or whatever it is.
Media.
Training opportunities, so you're providing the opportunities, whether, and then you do the third goal of the community presence and recruiting and advertising to get people to come in and use it. if
How
they
do you
wanna do
define,
it.
how do you define Bolton area?
I don't think this is a place where we can put media instead of television, because
Oh, yeah.
there
because you
is
are
certain
television.
things beyond camera recording that we're not getting into here.
Is it video production? Instead of
I think
television?
video production would be better.
Yeah, I think that's a better word.
You might
I
say
mean, I
provide.
certainly don't, when I come in and borrow your 105 and take it with me to record a concert, I don't think of it as TV. It's a video camera.
Yeah.
It's just a high-quality video camera that I'm using.
It's a nice.
But I don't know whether there's a distinction in the industry or anybody's minds about it.
This might be a nit, but you might want to say provide access to equipment rather than providing the actual equipment. Just a
Yeah,
nit.
that's a very good point.
Hey, I like one of those. I'm sorry.
And what was,
You
there
live
was
in a
there was
really
a really
scary
nice
world.
suggestion that we left over about changing the promote video production training. and
I think it was promote it.
Access to,
Um,
or
Access to
promote training opportunities, I think is what.
Well, but what are
Right.
these training opportunities that we're going to promote if we're not actually going to teach anybody anything?
We already do teach people stuff.
I know, that's why I don't understand what the objection is to that crazy.
well, promoting doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna do it yourself. I mean,
Correct.
sure does here, but it doesn't say. that
Promote
you're gonna do
doesn't, promote means that you don't have a measurable deliverable somebody can hold you accountable to. You're going to offer it. You're not going to actually do it, and you're going to need other people to come in and help you with it. Here, let's do this. Oh, okay. Whatever.
But if we're gonna provide it,
So is there demand for that training,
Yeah.
even though everybody uses smartphones now?
It's a big difference between.
Huge difference.
Well, I'm not saying it
Yeah.
isn't, but
yeah.
that's why I borrow the camera, but does the public think there's a difference? I don't know.
I mean, a perfect example, I was gonna bring it up to you actually after the meeting, but my stepdad has a band that sometimes plays locally at like Slater's and stuff like that. And a few times my mom has recorded with her smartphone, and yeah, the picture looks good, but the audio quality is terrible. And
Right,
it's
right.
not worth showing, especially if he has a band, you need
Agreed.
music. So one thing I had mentioned was the fact that we do offer our cameras if they go through training. And I was gonna actually bring them up to you afterwards, ask if it was okay for them to come in. But I think in that regards, yeah, I mean, your phones can do amazing things, but honestly, I'd rather have a video camera in my hand than a phone. I mean, even as someone my age, you know.
Well, there's even more to it than that. I mean, just the audio post-production.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just loaded up an Ubuntu load, and they come with a whole bunch of things, like 4 or 5 just audio post-production tools.
Yeah, absolutely,
that-
100%.
Yeah, I mean,
And the cameras we use, the Canons, they do way more than any phone can do right now. I mean, except for maybe like the newest of the new, but really we're offering, what we have is better than probably what most people have.
Do you want to say provide video production training instead of promote?
I would be inclined to say provide, but
Yeah, I just don't know, it's like, so you should really go out and get yourself some video production training. To me, that's promoting video production training,
Yeah.
but it doesn't
Yeah.
suggest that we really would have any.
yeah, I would say
more to it.
provide.
It makes more sense to me to say provide.
So we can
Strike.
provide equipment and.
Access to equipment.
Provide access to it.
Access to equipment and.
And provide
Supposed to be free
video
equipment.
production.
Provide
The finance guy.
video and audio,
video production training.
video and audio production training.
It's video
Now, do
and audio.
you teach
No, it's
audio
video.
too or not?
Yes, but audio is part of video.
Yeah.
I don't think you need to
So say
listen
video and
separately.
audio, and that will.
No, you don't need to listen
You don't need
separately.
to say it?
No.
Okay.
If I teach how to use a camera, I'm not gonna forget to tell you how to
Okay,
deal
so
with
that-
Yeah.
video.
But
On the
you
other
might
hand,
not,
you
but
won't
you
be-
might not make the leap that Zach did, though, that you have crummy sound on your smartphone.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I
Well,
borrow the
after you get a
camera,
little
is to
video
get better
production.
sound.
To provide access to equipment and video production training to the citizens of the Bolton area.
Define for me Bolton area.
Okay.
Does that go to the East
Because
Coast or the West Coast
because-
or Canada or Mexico?
Well, but it could be
Yeah,
whoever
it
is
doesn't
members, and
matter.
the way we've defined members is anybody who lives in Bolton, anybody who works in Bolton, or anybody who's associated with one of the schools, or
Then that's less to do about internet.
Sterling, or Lancaster or Stowe.
I thought it
Right.
was just anybody who wanted to participate in Bolton Access TV.
Or a volunteer is what it says.
Or
So,
a volunteer.
Well, you could put a period after training and throw the rest of it out.
I know, I was thinking of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because,
easier.
and that really, when you think about
They
it,
could say, sorry,
that's
not
what
for you,
Acton does.
but- Yeah.
that Acton runs those training courses, and people from all over go to them if they want to, and
Well, they wouldn't
They're
let me
trained.
go.
so they wouldn't let you go?
No.
Why?
They said I had to be a resident of Acton.
Really?
Yeah.
It was rude.
Didn't you go to one, Teresa, over there?
Oh, well, she's special.
No, I never went.
No? Okay, I thought.
But
I thought
Jonathan
anybody was allowed to
does.
go to those.
Jonathan does because he goes to the Stowe Acton Church in Stowe.
Well, I go to the church in Acton. I was a member of the Acton Garden Club. They wouldn't hear of it.
Hmm.
Wow, they must be really busy.
Well, then we won't discriminate, and so maybe
Yeah.
they'll flock to ours if we have a training program.
Great. And now we just need more staff. Provide access to equipment and video production training.
Oh, not provide video production training.
Right. Provide access to equipment and video.
Provide video production training. We're not providing, well, is it access
I
to?
just say provide twice.
Provide access
Oh,
to
okay.
equipment and video production
Okay,
training.
and video, okay, right.
Okay.
So provide.
Oh, this is awesome. Everybody vote quick.
I moved.
Now, one of the absent board members said that
Oh, yeah, we have
that he
to.
thought it was an exercise in futility to make such training a high-level goal because nobody really needs it because the high school kids don't have time and they already have their own editing tools at home and they all have their smartphones. So do we have a response to that?
I mean, from my personal
Well,
opinion.
one high school kids.
If the high school kid has access to the, what's it called, to the editing software that's currently available, that's incredibly impressive, because most of the editing software is very expensive these days. I mean, a license for Adobe Premiere is a couple $100 per month sometimes, and a license for Avid Media Production, which is the new standard, is $500-600 a year.
Okay, so that's part of the training that you would be providing?
Yeah.
And the access to that now, and the access to the equipment includes that? then?
Yeah. And
I'll buy that.
yeah, and I think it's kind of a
Well,
definitely
Yeah, and I'll say that I downloaded Premiere Pro, or Premiere Elements 13, and it's worthless. What you have upstairs is fine, but Elements is totally incompatible with it, and so it doesn't help me at all.
Yeah.
So,
I think a lot of kids that Rick was, I saw the email, a lot of kids are used to doing editing, all this kind of crazy stuff on their phone. My daughter does it. And they have all the, I mean, there's so much there, but it's not quality. And I don't think these kids know what quality is, to be honest.
Yeah.
They think they've created their own movie because, the 10-year-olds just use their iPhone. Everything's pre-formatted. It's all pre-formatted stuff on the iPhones. And they think they're doing a lot of production and because they can put it up on their phones and on YouTube. But in the long run, like you said, you can't go film a band with it and get anything reasonably good that could air on a television station. Kids aren't watching TV, they're watching their phones. And so I think there's a big difference between what they think is quality and what is actually quality.
But what do they do for actual post-processing is the question. What if they want to change the hues or the balance of the color, or they want to?
Well, there's all kinds, there's pretty advanced stuff on their phones, but again, it's like, their idea, like you say, it goes back to do you want a band that you filmed on your phone?
Yeah.
Or do you want a band that you filmed with an HD camera that you can use Adobe Premiere to edit?
Right.
There's just no, I really think a lot of these kids are just, I see a lot of parents too, they're shooting their kids' videos on their iPads, and I'm looking at them thinking, you're gonna regret this in future years. I'm just thinking that because I know what looks good and what.
If I had $1 for every video I've seen where someone just doesn't turn their camera this way so it looks any better, then I'm gonna need a full-time job.
Maybe that's part of the training. It's like, hey kids, I know you're making videos and you have a YouTube channel and you think you're a video production artist and all this, but go look what that sounds like if you had to put that on regular TV.
Right.
How does your band sound compared to this?
Yeah.
so I would suggest that this particular goal be the third one, and the third one be the fourth one, because it's the promoting the citizen involvement that would lead to that training that they would want to be getting. And maybe it doesn't matter the order these things are in, but it seems to me that to really make the training worthwhile, you've got to go and do the advertising, community presence, and recruitment to make the kids understand that that's what they need, and that that's what they want, and that we have stuff that's available to them if they wanted to use it. But I don't know.
So in that case, number 3 would be the more inclusive kind of packaging, a little bit of what's above.
Yeah, I think so. But let's suppose that the advertising, community presence, and recruiting worked, and 10 people knocked on your door next week and said, we'd like to be trained in XYZ. Can we do that?
So here, I would like to get this voted on, that this is our goals, and this is our mission, and this is what we want to do. And that's the question for the next board meeting. How do we make these goals happen? What do we need to do? What do we?
Okay.
How do we make that happen? Because I think there's a big discussion there.
Okay.
And I think it's a really important one.
So this is the what, and the follow-up would be the how.
It's
Okay.
how, yeah. This looks good.
So how's the
I don't
roadmap?
understand.
We start basically trying to weave the roadmap into this.
Yeah.
Until the vampires come.
We'll deal with that.
Dress up like a vampire next time. Aren't they like the body snatchers or something?
Yeah.
They're the vampires.
Well,
These zombies are different.
Zombies.
So then we're
Is there,
Do we need to
is there
read these through?
anything in the logic in suggestion about switching 3 and 4?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, that would be
Can
logical.
we just?
we should
do that?
switch them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so too. This is good. This is, it makes, not all the sentences make sense to me now.
So I move that we accept as revised the mission statement and the strategic goals.
Second.
Well, okay.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
So it's as amended.
Well done.
I personally, I think this is huge,
Yeah.
because this is really the start of that roadmap.
It's direction.
Yep.
It's the strategic, and then, what comes after this is, we can now measure our tactical recommendations to see how they fit into the
Yeah,
strategic.
yeah.
What does that mean?
And, I mean, it reminds us we are a pay station, and, these are our, that, we can go back to that and say, and, it's all well in Rick's opinion about people not needing training. They do.
Yeah.
If you wanna do a good job at it, it isn't a natural for most people. It really is a talent, and, I mean, these guys have put in the effort to go to college to learn how to do it, so I think that there's that part of it. And, I mean, I don't know that I've ever had a volunteer that came to me that hadn't taken some video in their lifetime.
Yeah.
It's not about that. But if they didn't go to school for it, learning the fundamentals is huge. I've seen that. I've been thanked for, helping them down that road.
Well, and I think as we get to the hows, if there's a way to promote the equipment that can be checked out and what it'll do for people, and part and parcel of that is learning how to use it, then that is going to be self-reinforcing for the training part of it. And if they need to or want to edit what they've done once they've finished with it, which they probably do, then there's an additional training element that they probably need. And so,
Usually it goes together. I've never had anybody come in just for camera and then not editing. I have had people come in just for editing, but I've never had anybody come in to learn the camera and didn't also learn the editing end of it. So.
well, it's sort of needed. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not proficient in the editing, but I can do enough to at least create a DVD, and I can usually put titles on it. But that is a complicated program. Or it's not intuitive the way some things are. You have to know where to look for some of the stupid little icons.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
Is to help make them
That's
happen.
what the training's all about.
Training and stupid
That
little
makes sense.
icons.
Oh, I was just thinking, Kristen, that as you get together with your daughter and we should go film something, she can use her phone and I'll use one of the cameras, and then we can do does your parade video look like this or this?
I know, and a lot of these kids are happy with,
Mhm.
whatever, and, it's just a different mindset.
Yeah, no.
100%.
And
But
if they ever had to see what they filmed on an actual HD TV, maybe that's what you should do, okay?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Let's see how you recorded it, now I'll show you how I recorded it.
Right.
Which one would you rather watch on your, flat screen?
Right.
Believe me.
What a great promotional piece, you know what I mean? That
Yeah, and I think part of this
Isn't that
access to the equipment thing can really be significant if people really knew what we had, and it could actually, what Lancaster does do is they actually have some equipment that they operate and do services for people that the people pay for, that makes money here, but that's better than if they have to go to some store somewhere. I'm speaking in this case of, they have equipment to convert 8 and Super 8 movies and VCR tapes to DVDs. Now, a lot of people are now saying DVDs are dead. I think that's silly myself, but
Well, that's even
but
more
the point
reason
is
to
they've
transfer
got,
them.
but the point is they've got the capability to do that. We don't have that, but we have other capabilities that we have, and those things can be used by people without having to go buy one necessarily. It's just they need to know about that, and we need to have ways that they can get it, and we can't just give it to them until they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
I can see a nice little public service ad that has your iPhone 10 and same thing.
Yeah, our
right?
camera.
Side by side. This one is free. That one's But really, I mean, because how else? I mean, I'm thinking that we're saying, oh, the kids think this is good, and I thought, I remember being a teenager. I do. I honestly do. And I thought I was wonderful then. I'm better now. But, you know, it's like, of course they think what they're doing is great. That's what it is to be 15, right? Right, but we could teach them that there's something better without telling them that what you're doing is crap, but just saying, so, I mean, we
No,
really
just
could do. I
promoting
mean,
the
I really-
equipment we have.
Yeah, but, I mean, I just love the idea of doing a side-by-side on the screen, you know, with their best possibility. And then say, if you'd like to be able to do this, we're offering classes.
You'd like to be one of the cool kids.
Right, yeah.
Actually, the AV kids were all geeks, right?
Till
Yeah.
I get to college, then they look pretty good.
Then you're the cool
So,
kids.
Yeah.
so next time we can approve the budget, and then we can have a discussion of nearer term goals, if you want to call them that. Is that, or do we still call them goals, or tactical goals, or are they now objectives?
The way that I, maybe, you know, and certainly any other suggestions, but the way that I work through this in industry is you start with this, and then you start with a roadmap, and that you kind of like put into a time frame what you want to do, and you look at the strategic plans and where does that fit into the roadmap, and then you wind up with a year or 2 or 3 years down the line, and then you can start looking for budgetary implementations each year to make that happen. And then you go through 4 or 5 different iterations, and then you've got the 3-year or the 5-year plan. And then each year it gets reviewed budgetarily. You know, that's, so the next time.
So
All right, we'll discuss that.
the 5-year plan.
Okay, so knowing holidays and
So
stuff,
we had a 1-year plan.
when shall we plan to get together?
We'll
in
think about a
December?
5-year plan.
We need to meet prior to the end of December so that we can have an approved budget to start, since our fiscal year ends on the 31st. So I have no idea when anybody has any time, but
Doodles. Doodle it.
we can do a doodles. If you'd rather do it that way, that's fine.
No, I think you have these 5 people to commit. All the year.
Because it is
No,
around
6
the holidays,
people.
it might be
If you
easier.
get 5 people in the room and you get a schedule in front of somebody, let's do it now.
7 people. We
Well,
have 7
I
board
don't have-
members
I don't
here.
have all my
I don't-
calendars.
We gotta get my kids'
So-
calendars.
How about the first day of Hanukkah, Wednesday the 13th?
I think, no, is that the second? Second?
Yeah, is that,
No,
Council
actually,
meeting?
I know I can't do that. No, this is, it's the Social Justice Committee of Holy Trinity Parish working on our refugee program. Something that Old Access TV might be interested in.
if you'd rather do Tuesday the 12th, that would be okay
I
also.
could do that. I could do Tuesday the 12th.
I don't know when the
December.
I don't know when the selectmen are meeting, but
We have to meet one more time.
they're probably meeting on the 27th and 21st, so the 14th would probably be okay also. Does anybody have any
Can't
preferences?
pretend to like be.
I can't do the 14th, my daughter's birthday, but.
Aww. Doesn't she want to go to a board meeting?
Come on, bring the cake.
Poor Nick. Nick's got hockey Tuesdays and Thursdays, so I asked him to video, you know, to cablecast Wednesdays. And so the end of November, he couldn't do Tuesday or Thursday, but there was a meeting Monday and Wednesday. Well, he couldn't do Monday because he had something to do. And then, well, can you do Wednesday? Well, no, I can't. And I'm like, well, why not? Well, I can't. And it took like 3 times to, it was his birthday. He didn't want to do his birthday. And as soon as I found out, I was like, you know, no big deal, but I was giving him a hard time that, look, you know, you told me you could cable cast, and then you can't even come at, you know.
So it's your birthday, big deal.
No, as soon as I found out, I
Tuesday the
did.
12th?
So
I didn't give
Tuesday
them
the
a-
12th?
Tuesday the 12th.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be gone for like 2 weeks in December, so,
To someplace warm and wonderful?
yes. So don't try to schedule around me, because I just,
Okay.
it's too many.
Tuesday the 12th, people buy into? And I can put that I can put that out on Doodle for others to say if they can't do it. Or something you cannot.
Monday?
So you can, so the two of you can, and,
I think, I've got to double check.
Today, I can.
okay.
Yeah.
So
I've not looked
I
at my
didn't.
other
I haven't
calendar, I
looked
just
at
happened
the
to.
kids.
What? What's that? Yeah.
And I'm only assuming here that you prefer a night meeting, is that true?
Yeah. It is for
Those
me.
gainfully employed.
I could be kidnapped by aliens, you know.
No, we may have to meet upstairs because there'll probably be somebody in this room, but,
Well, I think it happened last
Who
year,
knows?
I'm not quite sure.
all right. Let's plan on that for now.
The 12th?
Tentatively 12/12 at 7 o'clock. Let's just say we'll meet in the studio. And that way, we won't have to worry about this room at all.
You had out budget thing, was there anything else that I missed?
Probably.
Did you get an annual report?
There's the
I
annual
did not,
report
nope.
that needs one amendment, and then there
And
is,
agenda.
and then there, somebody should have, yeah, you give her that.
Budget thing?
Because I marked mine.
Do you have two more of those, Teresa?
Is that, one of those two?
Do you have,
I
those
do
two,
most of
but
them
both,
here, so
two
I'm
sheets,
invoices.
I just, I'm doing
I
some
don't-
Java development.
It's
and I
not-
wanted a-
I don't have any more.
I was doing it on.
Do you actually want your
So
sheets?
I downloaded
So-
to the studio,
Okay.
and I'm doing most
Is there a
of it
motion to
with my
adjourn?
audio.
Wait a minute, what about number
members.
6 here?
Oh, yes, you're right, election. We have two directors who are up for reelection, and they happen to be able to be here, Kristen and Susan. And if you're willing, then I would accept a motion to reelect both of them.
Downloaded from the computer. I'm sorry.
Boy, I don't know.
Who's that?
Don't leave now, now's the fun is starting.
Yeah, we're just.
One more year.
But they're not 1 more year appointments. They're
I know.
3-year appointments.
I know, but one more year.
It's gonna be
You can always
really
quit in the middle.
old by the time
You
that.
can always quit in the middle. No, you're not old.
Now the exciting stuff is that we really need you for.
What are you gonna do?
I'll resign. Their perks.
Put them off the hook.
Well, we would appreciate your involvement. You're both,
Yeah.
you're both important. I mean, everybody's important, but you both have the actual TV experience that most of us don't. And, you know, you bring good perspectives to the group. Whether you have a lot of time or not is less important than the perspectives you bring. So
All right, so
if
I'll
you do it, that'd be great.
I'll do another year, I guess.
Is it always 3 years, or is it that you choose
It's
one?
always.
Well, it's three at the moment, and
But you
that-
can
that's what
quit
it would
because
be, but
we're
you can
not
always quit.
slaves.
If you have to quit, you have to quit. But if you're willing to be reelected, then that would be great.
That's fine with me.
So all in favor of Kristen and Susan, say aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you. I'm sorry to have overlooked that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I
And
guess-
Kristen, I know that
Yeah,
both
and I
of
guess,
you have very.
and I guess the one
busy
other thing the
lives.
board needs to do is to elect the clerk, treasurer, and president. And if you have any, you know, if anybody either doesn't want to do it or you want somebody else to do one of these jobs, then by all means volunteer. But if we're willing and if each of us is willing and you want us to stay on for another year, we can do it. Now, this is just a year at a time, the officers, as opposed to being on the board. You still okay?
Bring it on.
Okay, all in favor of the officers?
Aye.
Yeah.
We asked the secretary.
And
we asked one vote.
And you should all think in the next year of somebody stepping in to be president, because that will have been enough time.
You've been here since the beginning of time.
Well, no, not really.
Wow. Wow, Sharon.
Well,
I mean, I was there at the
TV
beginning.
time.
Well, yes, but not on the board. I mean, I was second before that. No, he and Rick came to me 2 months after I retired from selectman and asked me if I would do this. And I thought, oh, that's no big deal.
So since 2011, right?
Yeah, 10.
2010.
Yeah, so I will have been, so next year I would have been in office 8 years. But I'll continue doing it. Well, as I said to, I noticed that one of my kids who was on the board of her orchestra wasn't listed in the program this year, and I said to my wife, gee, I thought being on a board was a lifetime appointment. And I guess it isn't for everybody.
We need to address the capital.
Yeah, and that's the next thing that the Finance Committee is going to work on, and then bring capital to here and talk about it in more detail. So, yeah, we're definitely.
Well, the
We're
long-term
definitely
goal
planning to do
is
that.
part of, is the start. Start there.
Okay.
Okay,
Are we done?
adjourn? Thank you. Next.
Also, if you are interested in what we're doing